As some of you might know, um, my father, Liam Johnstone, died, and he's been waiting to be cremated until today. And that took place sometime, British time, and I woke up, I don't know, 1:30 in the morning, and thought about him, and did decide that I was going to do this a couple of days ago. If only because, yes, it helps me, I think, but I'm not trying to reconcile his life for him. I'm trying to accept what I know and also accept what I don't, and understand that the truth is that I can't reconcile his life for him. I'm not trying to do that. I'm more in the space of recognizing, I don't know, something else. Um, the fact that his suffering started when his father died when he was 15, and it's possible that emotionally he rarely rose uh, beyond that age. You know, this is how I remember him. Okay, yes, that's me. In the middle is a woman that he was in love with and that he was with for 25 years, Nanette, and they played bridge together, and they knew each other very well. I mean, she knew him probably as well as I did, I guess. I don't know, but that's him on his sister's wedding day. That's one of the ways I remember him. This is him and his friends. These are my uncles. I mean, if you ever know me and you hear me talking about my uncles, you get to a point where you're wondering who I'm talking about, considering my dad has one sister, Helen. And these men, I mean, at the far end here, you've got, um, here, you've got Mark Cook, who is one of his best friends, known him so long, known my mother. And this was taken in Brighton, and sort of for a few years, they drove down to Brighton and they played against a team that the village put together where his sister lived. This was his Tower Ballroom team. The Tower Ballroom was somewhere where he, it was part of the sort of legend of my life where he, worked, and I eventually worked there. But these men, this man here, Hubert, he was one of my uncles. One of the great memories is my dad and Hubert took my grandmother and I to see Ray Charles at the Royal Albert Hall, and that was my first concert, October 13th. I think it was 1980, might have been 81, but it was in there, and it was. But I used to watch these guys play cricket, and I knew all of them. This man here, John Chapman, he's an incredible story. I might write about him one day. But I mean, they were all police officers and friends and gangsters and musicians and doormen, and they taught me a lot. But not as much as the women who raised me, but they taught me a lot. But this is my father here at the edge of the photo. And to be fair, that's another way that he existed regularly, which is to say that he genuinely was on the outskirts of a social situation, and you might find him in the corner of a room talking to one person when there were lots of people there, and he was normally the reason why the room was crowded, because he threw a lot of parties. But this is him on stage. And he said yes to everything. I'm showing you this because you can see him there laughing. My father loved comedy. My God. He would have loved me to become a comedian. These are his parents, not on his wedding day. Not on their wedding day. That's Alec, my grandfather, and Wynn, my grandmother. He was in the RAF during the war. My father was born during the war. He was born during the Battle of Britain when the bombs were raining down over the center of the country. And, he was genuinely born while they were bombing Coventry Cathedral that week. And, my grandfather was at work. And he was, trying to keep the planes in the air. There he is. I never met him. He died in 1955. Amazing memory, like mine. And he was a cards champion, which we'll talk about again later. I don't have many pictures of my grandmother when she was young, but this is she. I guess you can kind of see who she grew into. She lost her husband in 1955, but she was filled with joy, and she tried to fill our lives with joy. My cousins. But they produced him. First picture of him. Maybe the second. I have the first picture, but sometimes I put it on Instagram on his birthday. But this is him in the front room of their house. This is him. My guess is this one he's back from. So, 1940, he's born. The water was contaminated, so my grandmother and he went to Yorkshire. And I don't know if she was already pregnant with my aunt. She probably was. Who was born 5 years after Lehman 45. But the point is that he went up there. So I imagine that this is his first picture back, which is his going to Greswold, which was a school that was within walking distance of the house, where my grandmother was a teacher, and eventually she became the deputy head, which opened up all kinds of doors and interesting relationships with people. But this is him probably at King Edward School, which is Solihull School, where he went. He took all kinds of fast-track exams and ended up overachieving. And then this is him. He's lost his father at this point, and you can see the difference in his face already. But he and he what's to say? I mean, instead of waiting an extra year to go to Cambridge, he went to Berlin. He goes to Berlin, and then he goes to King's in London, and he, 60-61, he watches Spurs win everything, which won't mean a lot to a lot of people, but it means a lot to the fact that his son became an Arsenal fan. And he would sit there and just make life harder every day for me. But he taught me everything. He taught me it was okay to go on camera and just ramble like I'm doing now. I don't know how far you've gotten. He taught me to write because it's the only way. I know I didn't even really shave today. I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm thinking about my dad. My aunt sent me pictures, lots and lots. But the thing is I was shocked by how many pictures of me he had. I don't want to make this about me because it's not. I'm not trying to reconcile his life. I'm not trying to make it easier on myself because he was suffering at the end. I won't share the last photo of him. But he didn't want a memorial. He didn't want a funeral. He didn't want anything. And humans need closure, but there's no such thing. So, and he once quoted my own book back to me after swearing that he'd never read my stuff, and then he went ahead and quoted my own book back to me. And that was an amazing moment in my life. I mean, I'll go back to this one. There aren't that many pictures of us together. I mean, I probably posted a couple on Instagram, to be honest with you. But he was a very private person. And he was painfully emotional. It took him so long to process things. I heard him cry once when his mother died, and he had to tell me over the phone. He was working, of course. And then but we got to play bridge together, and we got to go to Vegas together. Dante's Inferno, one of us played the parson and the other one played Dante, and we walked the entire Vegas Strip from the Hilton to the Mandalay Bay at the time. And we sat at the bar at the House of Blues, and I won $6,000 playing craps. Some Japanese guy hit the hard 8, and I was sitting right there when it happened. I made it, and he asked me for $100, and I gave it to him. And he didn't need the money. He just did it because that's what you do. You share your winnings. But anyway. I've probably gone on too long, but I just wanted to share. Thank you.